Okay, welcome everyone, and again thanks to Dave and the organization for allowing us to showcase something today. As people know, we have been working on ProGauntlet. Our company name is actually Crossguard, so if you see Crossguard from now on, that's us. The reason we chose Crossguard, of course, it starts protecting the hands, and in the end you protect more and more by using the Crossguard in the correct way. We intend to create more stuff for HEMA in the future as well. But the glove is hard enough in itself. But if you compare it to any other brand of protective gloves, it's much better. Our approach is really simple. We look at the hand, and every joint in the hand, we intend to move in a way without any strain in the material. So basically, any position is neutral, and when you move from one to the other, you don't need force. So you don't need force to close your hand around it, you don't need force to open it, whatever. And everything stays covered while you move. But if you look at your own hand, and all the joints you have here, all the motions you make in a sword fight, and combine that with the harshness of a steel sword, you can imagine it's hard to combine these two. So that's the reason we're taking so long. Apologies to people who had expected to be finished by now. We were among these people. Who of you are impatient? Just to know. Why don't you gonna help? That's okay. That's okay. Are there any of our beggars here, maybe? Who actually backed the campaign? Thanks. Sorry for the silence in between, but thanks. We kept on working on it. So sometimes we see people online like, hey, they have stopped long ago. We didn't. Only we didn't have stuff to show all the time. So that's why we have been too silent. Sorry for that. But as you can see, now we're here to showcase something.
We want you to know that we'll never stop. That's our promise.
Yes.
We'll keep on going until we see it through.
Yes. Shall we show them some love? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a prototype here. We've finished it this morning in our hotel room. So, as is our custom, let's make it dramatic. So basically what we want is you have a hand instead of a glove. You move without any strain, all the joints. The thumb as well can go, we can show you around later on.
You want to hit first? Or?
Yeah, let's show. Yeah, let's see if it works.
It's gonna be a surprise for us too, especially. Are you sure you want to do it?
Are you ready? By the way, this is a real sword. The effect of a real sword.
Dramatic.
That's a real Youval.
Yes.
It has been nice to meet you.
Last one. Okay. This is.
Yes?
Alright. What? Did you hit already?
Oh, sorry.
Here we go.
Seems to be working. The thing is, this is a really worst case situation. The hands, the force cannot go away, all that goes into the hand. Normally if you get a hit in mid-air, you get pushed aside. But what we have put inside as well is a foam that gets a lot of the energy out. The material is really flexible on the sides, so it doesn't really clamp on the sides of the finger. It's really neutral. If you bend your finger, it becomes wider, but that doesn't really feel bad. I can show you this finger around. And because of the foam combination, it takes a lot of the energy out. Right now we're trying to deal with different hand sizes. We've started a research together with the University of Delft to deal with ratios between fingers and stuff like that. We are also innovating in production method. A pair of gloves actually has 50 hard shell parts in it, and to cast these parts and these material properties is really a challenge. So these are also among the list, not just designing the glove, but also solving these little problems.
Well, this is to show you that after it has been hit by a maniac like Maarten, you can still move around and fight, which is important. So, just going to do some show-off moves. And even half swording, everything is possible. my fingers are still tax protected. Whenever I change position, you can see what Maarten was talking about. There is no straight in the material. Everything works with overlapping plates.
Also this part, maybe you can see it from this distance, I hope so. It is thrust proof. We are still optimizing this part though. We see more and more pixels on the line of people being thrust here and here. And of course that is why you have your interaction with your sword, so it's hard to really close it off. So we are working on that part, but that is really hard to solve with any fingered glove.
Where the protection arrives? Little and finger.
Yeah, we are now also working on the wrist. We have some systems for that.
Also, this is very.
Yeah. I believe, to be honest, that a lot of the immobility in gloves is in the wrist. And it also has to do with the fencing jacket. If you put a fencing jacket on, you cannot really do this because your arm moves within the jacket. If you then lock a glove around it, it really immobilizes this movement. So we are trying to deal with that and to see how we can interfere with the jacket to go over or under or come up with a different system for that. So probably it will run to here, and maybe in the future we'll make a modular system where you actually.
Or you may have a system where the glove arrives here and you have other pieces that can connect drawing.
Yeah.
You can continue and
Bit by bit.
The thumb area is also quite interesting. Can you show this one?
Or maybe.
Oh yeah, he has also a prototype. So okay, this is the first time we actually try this, so
it's fine. Got it!
I don't know, I've never fought with this. I look like an idiot.
it seems to fit.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Any more weapons?
So, are there any questions? We can show stuff around, people can come closer after. But first,
Question: when they hit the little finger,
yeah.
when you grip the sword, sometimes it happens you have the hit on the
Pinky?
the pinky, and the damage is made by the grip and the hit on the glove. So the pressure on
Yeah.
So to repeat the question, the question is when you are hit on the pinky and it is stuck between the sword and your grip, what will happen? Actually,
That's kind of similar to this situation.
stuck between the rock and the hard place.
Here you can see the pinky. On the outside of the index finger and the pinky we also have foam. So from all the outsides basically you have it covered with hard shell and foam. But here indeed it connects kind of to the grip then. So it's hard to really lock it to clamp it. So it shouldn't really pose a problem there. It's quite similar to this actually.
You can pass it around.
Yeah, I'll show some this around if you like.
Yeah.
You can just try it on. Move, of course. This is for one size, but you get the basic idea.
Yes. What about the inside of the thumb? These are very
This area here.
finger point. Yes.
Yeah.
Also on the point of the finger, but the
This thumb actually has foam on both sides.
Also the index.
yes.
Okay, yes. So the questions are, how about protecting the extra vulnerable parts from the index finger, side of the pinky here, and the thumb? We have a couple of spare parts here you can see for yourself.
There's also foam on both sides, and you have a lot of rigidity all around. So basically, from all sides where you hit hard shell, and it's quite rigid in that way. We will have to test these elements on protection, to be honest. Because the thing is, people want it to be as thin as possible, us included. And you can see this really works, but we have to go through this procedure with all the parts from all the different angles. And of course, every glove will have its own weak spots. What we do here is meant to hurt opponents and not to make it comfortable for them. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for now? Okay, then sorry?
Will the glove comes with inner glove? Because I see now that you work onto another glove.
Yeah.
So it will be all together.
We are thinking, we are talking to a production partner right now to have the inside glove made in a really comfortable way, but also with a good fiber, that it doesn't wear down really fast. But we actually see it as an exoskeleton, which you put around the glove. It is connected to some parts, but probably you will be able to remove it, maybe to wash it or to get a new one if it wears down. Because if we don't sew it together, because if you do that, if it wears down, you have to throw away the entire glove. Yeah. So that's why we'll keep two systems there.
Okay, and now you talk about break. So in the case of one segment breaks,
yeah,
is it possible to replace it?
That is on the list to work on that, yes. Currently the fingers are assembled as a whole with Dyneema thread, so it's really strong, but if it will break down, maybe we will look into making it really easily accessible to reconnect.
So you won't need to replace the whole glove, you can just replace it with the part.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Just to elaborate a little bit more on the inner glove, we are working with the manufacturer to work with the principle of 3D knitting, so you don't have seams on the fingers, because seams really mess up your sense of control. And you have multiple variations of this with protective parts for more vulnerable areas. So this is all work in progress. But this is the base.
This one is really stretchy, too stretchy to really put on, so we're also experimenting with that. If people, by the way, have good ideas on this, we're always open to suggestions. Our info is on here, so please send us an email or whatever if you have some contacts.
From a practical production perspective, how many sizes do you think is reasonable to produce?
We're still in the middle of the research. It either may be standard sizes or a modular system, where, for example, you take a picture of the hand and we will deduce which parts you need and we will make by that. But we're in the middle of the research, so it's really hard to...
Are you going to print them? They're printed?
No.
Okay.
Well, this one is based on a print and a cast, but in total we will use a different system.
Any idea of the cost of this?
Price.
The question everyone's been waiting for when is it ready and what's it going to cost me? So, well, we decided to play the ball back to you. What do you want to pay for this?
If it does what we intend it to do.
It depends how much it lasts. If I have to change pieces sometimes, I have to understand which the cost in the long term.
Well, okay, so to be honest, it took us about a week or maybe more to make these with a couple of people. And that's way too much. So once the design is ready, we must determine for how much it can, if we can reduce the time of production. And that's a whole new segment in itself.
It's a real big factor for the price. Because we have 50 parts, the casting itself is okay-ish if you have sufficient numbers, but the finishing of the part and the assembling, that takes too long right now. So we try to bring it down by automating and providing systems, but that will be a major factor for the price. We hope to be able to make it for like 300 to 350 in that range, euros, but we're not sure if we can. How does that price sound, by the way, 350?
Well, it depends. Currently, for example, I have 3 different kind of gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can use only one, from rapier to handle swords, that could be okay if they last for a certain number of years.
Okay.
You're supposed to be able to change little parts of the break.
That is the idea, yeah. We are working on that system, but that's the idea.
And the good part is about production, we just talked about it a little bit. We are designing our own production method, and we're doing it in such a way that we can easily, once everything is in place, we can easily adapt to new shapes and whatever is necessary for variations. We can't promise that yet, but it looks like we're going to be able to have custom pieces for maybe if Spada Delato doesn't work very well with these, we could maybe make a little different version.
But what if the single fingers are, how can I explain, changeable? Okay, you can be nice to use, for example, with the long sword. I need all maximum protection I can, but with the side sword, I have the
index finger.
More easy as I can, okay, because I can grip on with the finger.
It sounds like a great idea, but of course it has a lot of influence on how complex the product will be.
Sure.
So that will be a bit of a balance. Probably the first one will not have that, but we will see if it's possible in the future.
What about the material of the rope that ties together the pieces of the fingers? It looks like the softest part of the glove.
This is the softest part?
So as the most fragile part when you can fight and you can jump out. So what's the material of the...
It's Dyneema. It's used for all these applications. It's really, really strong. Dyneema. But we will test the durability of these things. It's also abrasion resistant, but of course it is the weakest spot. We have tried really a lot of different systems for connecting the fingers. But the main thing is we don't want sides of the fingers to be too thick. You have 2 layers over each other and then it pins through. Then you will tear it with a shear and it will become really thick. So that's why we kept it in one line and the force is actually along that same line. So I think it should be okay. If it breaks, we rather have the rope break down than the part because a rope you can replace it.
I think that the idea to have the tourniquet gloves that can be changed is very good because in some cases when you use sword with only one hand, you use the other hand for certain movement. I do not want to be not protected. I want to be stronger than for the left hand.
Well, could people please keep the volume down to sorry for that, but the inside, of course, there is where you hold the sword. So if you put too much material in there, you get less control and feedback. But I think we can kind of follow this shape better than the Turin one. We are actually looking at the end conditions right now to go more around it, but there will always be open parts, otherwise you wouldn't feel the sword.
Okay, that's true, but taking consideration that if you want to have a large number of people that is a customer of yours, probably the fact that we can use a single glove for different kind of sword is an advantage. So taking consideration also other sword rather than just the...
I do agree. But the drawback of trying to have one switch for everything at the same time is that it doesn't work for anything in the end.
No,
so that's what
the possibility to change the glove could be a solution.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a final question if there is any. And
then we move on to
if you are too timid, then you can always come back later and talk to us.
We have a question about the wrist.
About the jacket.
Jacket. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a question for you guys. If we come to the wrist, every wrist guard of every glove is going outside. But there it often is strapped to the underarm, and if you do this, it's really hard. And that's why I think, at least, you see all the big movements in tournaments, because it's really hard to do the subtle ways. Because this actually is 90 degrees tilt, whereas this cannot really tilt. That's why we're working on a system right now that's under the jacket, and it might surprise people. But it's really thin, and you move within the jacket. Then you can have other forearm protection over the jacket again, so it stays in place.
Just a basic question. You usually wear jackets first, because if you put the gloves, you cannot wear the jacket. So when you have the jacket, you have already the jacket closed here. Not all the jackets are so easy to remove. So how do you put something below?
Good question. We are working on that. And some actually have an incision here, so it can fall out a bit.
You should take some agreement with people that is making jackets.
Yeah, I agree.
For example, to have it to open and
that would be great. I agree.
Okay.
That's good. So, any final questions? No. Otherwise, I invite you to come up to have a look at the glove from close. And thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much.
So don't be shy, come have a look at this one.
Questo è un po' lungo.
Especially those with your rapier and you will know how important, and even with longsword, you know, you really want to. Yes. Well, on the tips is okay, but you want the connection with your weapon. You need it. Otherwise, it's going to feel dead.
Foam will be already distributed.
Sorry?
The foam will be already distributed.
Yes. So as you can see, it's all on the inside. But so between the fingers, no.
Okay.
Because we need it to be thin as much as possible. But you can see on the side, all the outside is reinforced in the thumb, and of course in the back of the hand.
Ready, Youval?
Ready? So.